Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. My channel simply is discerning what is true. Today is the 11th day of February 2026. Going to be reading from the book Kabbalah and Exodus uh, by a gentleman named Zev ben Shimon Halevi. Levi. Um, this title of the chapter 41 is Illumination. Okay. And so what this particular chapter is going to be dealing with is what we call experience. When I scroll down here in this particular book, this section is called experience. So this is another different section of the book compared to what we've just been through. And let me make it easier for me to read. So let's see how we get this thing to work. So this is chapter 41, but this is coming from the book of Exodus, chapter 33. Again, I remind people that Exodus is a story. It's just a story. Okay, it's not reality. It's a story that's revealed in the Bible. And Exodus means simply is to move away from the body, physical, and to pursue spiritual things, to seek after those things, which are things that can create something very important for your life. And it's not a short trip. In other words, it's going to take time for you to understand these things. I know that I met a ascended master, which is Phil Langdon. So appreciate you being here. Again, this is based upon Exodus. We have to, as we've been here so many times, reincarnated. The aspects of what has happened to us is simply as we think about the physical as being the only thing that's vital to us. Yes, it's important to have a place to work, a place to sleep and rest, those things. When you have those things, you have the opportunity now to use your time in a wise way. And this is one way of using it now because we've been given some of that truth from others in the past and also in the present day with Bill Langdon. So let's get into this particular book. The conversation between God and Moses in the tent of meeting. Remember, that's what we talked about earlier. This was a special place where only Moses was around. This is where he met, meeting of God, so to speak, outside the camp. Maybe consider it as a metaphor. Yeah, it is a metaphor of the dialogue within an individual between thou and I. The level, see, that means right there that what he's saying here, real quick and simply, is this: God is present in your life already. Okay, it's in the present tense. It's not past. It's present. You see, there's a part of you that actually is been endowed with God within you, and it's within your head. You see, the level at which it takes place would be between the self, where the three lower worlds meet, and the place where the three upper worlds meet. This position is the Sephirah, at the very center of Jacob's ladder, which acts both as the knowledge of the psyche and the foundation of the spirit. This station is also associated with the Archangel Gabriel, who is the annunciator. Here too is the place of the Holy Spirit as it manifests to the psyche. Kabbalistic significance of this position is that it enables a man to hear and even see into the upper worlds. That's why this particular part of this book is revealing what we call, revealing what is within you. See, the part of you already has the equipment, so to speak, to ascend. Okay, but you haven't gotten there yet. You You see, and that's why we reincarnate here many times. Um, and this is where Gabriel is at. You see, um, we know that certain people, even when we talk about Moses, some certain people could get up to a certain level, as it speaks about in this particular book, is to do with they're coming. They're not ascended yet, but they do understand a few things already. The Kabbalistic significance of the position is that it enables a man to hear and see into the upper worlds, even though he is still in the flesh. So it's not, you don't make heaven after you die. You make heaven within you in this day when you're alive. That's what you're seeking after within. It's not. This is where almost everybody's confused, trying to make heaven on earth. That's not going to happen, folks. That's not going to happen. Why? Because there are so many people who are not even involved in this. We're talking about people who are on the narrow way, a narrow path. Even that path is so it's very few even people are on that path that basically you can hardly tell where the path is. It's not the wide road, you see. So that gives you an idea. So the equipment is already within you. You just have to learn. And this is what this is about, the process of this, learning, teaching yourself, studying deeply, dig deep, you see. You want to pursue these things because this is what you're here for. Nothing else matters, you see. And don't get feared by the fear porn, that is that you're going to hell after you die here. That's not it. It's basically we're here in hell now, you see. All right, we all are in hell here. But this is the opportunity, you see. This is how the church has misunderstood these things. And they say, well, if you don't accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior in your life here at this time, then you're going to go to hell. Well, that doesn't sound like a very much benevolent God, does it? Even though they talk about grace and goodness, the problem simply is they don't understand simply is nothing's happened to them. Nothing. Nothing. That's why they still cheat on their wives. Okay? That's why pastors divorce their wives for a secretary is at the church. Hello? Nothing's changed. Nothing. It's a psychological, it's not a psyop. It's just a psychological thinking that you have all these people greet you and hug you and shake your hand. Welcome to the family. When reality simply is that's just an outward quote unquote manifestation, but nothing's happened to you inward. Nothing. The pastors don't have any answers for this. They would think you're the kooks when reality simply they're on the wide road of perdition. They're on the wide road. They're not on the narrow way. They're not on the narrow path. They're not. That you hear all the time, such as these guys are involved in, they take money, this and that. Why in the world would you get even paid to be a pastor? That's another thing. Think about it. Why would you get paid? Because they've seduced, they fooled the sheep. They're wolves in sheep clothing. You see. You see, why would they be involved in that type of stuff? Well, God gives us forgiveness. Yes, God forgives us. Yes. But when you take a responsibility of that weight as a pastor and thinking you know something, and yet you're not, you're actually keeping people from getting to the truth. You're a barrier. Got off on a tangent here. Sorry. It moreover facilitates his communication with the divine at the crown of his psyche. The crown is up here. Now the church has architecture that gives you examples of that. We can look into what is his name now? Not Zev Ben. Trying to think his name now. I've read so many books. The famous Frenchman, not famous, but he's a Frenchman. He's the one that did the temple at anyway in Egypt. Him and his wife went there. It'll come to me. I've gotten all mixed up here, got all frustrated somewhat. But yeah, the crown of his psyche. Thus, it was possible for Moses to converse with God while at ground level in the lower worlds. The tent meeting became the place also where the children of Israel came to Moses for advice and intercession on their behalf, here beyond the frontier of their mundane camp life. It was a sacred space where their teacher could enter into contact with the divine to petition and praise for them. The parallel may be seen in the individual as the ego perceives the developing soul rise up to enter into a spiritual conversation that it cannot directly participate in. Experience shows that such dialogue often goes on deep within the unconscious, although the ego can sometimes sense some hint of what is going on by the peace or disturbance precipitated by interior changes. During the time Moses was not in the tent, Joshua, his young assistant, remained on watch as he had on the mountain. He was already being trained to be Moses' successor. The same occurs within the individual as the as yet inexperienced spiritual aspect of the self is trusted to watch and follow. Moses said to the Lord, in quote, Exodus 33, verse 12, quote, "Thou didst lead this people up, but thou hast not told me whom thou wilt send me." That is, and he has it in brackets, to lead us, end quote. "Thou hast said to me, quote, I know thee by name, and thou hast found favor in my eyes," end quote. "If I have found favor, let me know thy ways that I may know thee." This double request is more revealing of the process of spiritual instruction. The first is concerned with a guide. If the Lord will not accompany the people, who then will help them? Moses obviously does not see himself as the guide, either because, as the Bible later notes, he is a humble man, or because while he is capable of prophetic revelation, he is not yet a man of secure inner knowledge. Although he is a leader of the people, he can only assume the place of the self, but not hold it as a permanent state. This also symbolizes the role of any teacher as the makeshift self of the disciple until the Jacob in the disciple, the makeshift self of the disciple until the Jacob in the disciple, the psychological self becomes transformed into Israel, the spiritual self, later represented by Jahuah, Jahua. And I want to look at this real quick here. The word Jacob, real quick here. See if we can find it here. I'm pretty sure it's in here, but I don't remember. This is many different names in the Bible here. You have to ask yourself why these names, and you have odd ones. Now today we say, well, Jacob's a pretty much a popular name. Well, yes, popular because simply as people read the Bible and they chose to name their children Jacob. That's the reason why. So Jacob the higher self, bidding his time to assert his prerogative. So his time. Well, this is based upon right here, Genesis 25:26. It's just a higher self. And this is a book you can buy. You can get it. So these are reprints, after all. This was done over 100 years ago. Okay, this was done. This knowledge is here already, and no one is taking the opportunity to learn more. You see, and also What about the other book here, Brent? Oh, yeah, this is another book here that most people, Metaphysic Bible Dictionary. Let's see, and that was printed in the, I think, in the 1930s or 40s. That's over 80 years ago. But no one knows about this, you see, because no one tells them. They're not going to tell you about this because metaphysics sounds really strange to people in the church. You see, that must be the devil. You see, same thing with the tarot cards. It must be the devil. Yeah, that's not quite right, guys. Anyway, got off the tangent here. Sorry about that. See if we can get back to. Okay, here we go. So let me look at. Wait a minute, I just forgot to look at this thing at Jehu. See if it's in here. I don't know if it will be in here or not. Just get JAHUA. It's not here. That's what I'm afraid of. Thought it might be. Not all of them are in here. Okay, so we're at the second question is concerned with being known by God. To be known by name is to be individually acknowledged in past tense. And here Moses claims by this privilege to be shown the innermost ways that he might come to know God. In answer to the question, quote, who will be the guide of the people, end quote, the Lord says, quote, my presence go with you in person, end quote. But Moses is unsure of the meaning of this because the Lord has said he will not travel with the people, and he asks for clarification, saying, quote, how will it be known thou art with us except that thou go with us, end quote. Here Moses seeks to draw out God's mercy into the open that the Israelites and the world at large may perceive it. But the Lord, indicating a difference in divine ways, avoids a direct answer and speaks only of regard for Moses by repeating that he is known by name. Here is a chain by which all esoteric teaching is imparted. The divine instructs the teacher or higher psyche, which passes on knowledge in an intelligible form to those below in an ordinary consciousness. Biblical legend tells us that Moses' next stage of instruction was to be shown the treasures that are stored up for those who behave with integrity and charity, that is, with justice and mercy. And with those, that tells you already there's the two pillars. He saw also that rewards were destined for those who failed their mission as well as those who completed their tasks. This puzzled Moses until he was reminded that divine ways are not like man's. The Lord is gracious to whom the divine wishes to be gracious. The Lord perceives Moses perplexly, demonstrates how sometimes the appearance of reward and punishment is misleading to the unperceptive eye as Moses in clarity or clairvoyant vision. Had a real life incident played out before him? A man was killed without apparent reason until it was revealed that this violent death was the result of a previous crime. As a result, the dead man's property was then restored to his original owner, from whom it had been stolen. Thus, through a chain of apparently unconnected events, justice and mercy brought about equilibrium in the world. Moses not only saw the laws of reward and punishment at work, but was allowed, legend tells us, to glimpse deep into the future, where he saw every generation and its spiritual leaders. This showed him how the world was governed, not by the power of physical might or psychological willpower, but by spiritual and cosmic forces that operated according to the heavenly watchfulness of providence, unless the divine chose to intervene. By such an act, it was revealed that divinity would grant grace, even to the undeserving, if they prayed for mercy. having acknowledged their stupidity. At the end of this lesson, Moses asked that he be shown the divine glory. In Kabbalistic terms, he wished to view the world of imagination without the veiling of the lower worlds. The reply was that he would not be allowed to see the divine light directly because it would destroy his acquired individuality. Only those who were prepared to sacrifice their sense of self in the presence of eternity could be considered ready for this stage of union. For no man may see the face of God and live. End quote. Besides, Moses had work to do below on earth. However, Moses would be granted a like vision of the glory by being placed in a cleft of the rock. The word Hatsur, Hatsur, end quote, is used in the text. Kabbalistically, it indicates the legendary rock of Shetiyah, Shetiyah, which is, quote, the foundation stone of the world. Besides being Jacob's pillar, when he saw the great ladder of heaven, it is the rock which the Creator cast into the abyss as the beginning of creation to act as the connection between divinity and the lower worlds. So I want to look up this word here. We'll see if it's here. Hatsur, Hatsur. No, it's not in there. I don't see it. Okay, there was another word I want to look up. Rock of Shetiyah. Shet. I don't see it here. I didn't think it would be in this one. It's probably in this other one, but we'll go on here. Okay, let's see. We continue where we were at. Besides being Jacob's pillow, I should say, when he was the great ladder of heaven, it is the rock which the Creator cast into the abyss at the beginning of creation to act as the connection between divinity and the lower worlds. Moses was to be placed within this rock. That was, according to legend, to form the base of Solomon's temple. From its protection, he would glimpse the hind part of the glory of God. And so that's the end of chapter 41 today. Again, this is about experience. So Moses is asking some deeper questions here, so to speak. He wants to be able to go into upper worlds, and I don't know if he's ready or not here, so to speak. So we're in this point of the broadcast, and we'll stop here. Today is the 11th day of February 2026. Thank you for joining me on Kabbalah and Exodus. Have a good day. Take care.